What is going on, guys? My name is Keggernaut, but just call me Keg, and with the release of patch 7.2 coming out today, I thought that I would redo my artifact progression path for the Guardian Druid, as we're going to be getting some new traits here off in the corner, as you can see, and some 4th ranks on the rest of these traits as well. So for the new people that haven't yet leveled the Guardian Druid and you want to play tank, I'm going to quickly go ahead and go over the artifact path that you should be going for, but honestly it doesn't matter too much because just we have so much artifact power anyway with the 25 artifact knowledge ranks that this should be filled out extremely quickly. But either way, first things first, we're going to go ahead and grab our first trait, Rage of the Sleeper, then head our way over to this one, Embrace of the Nightmare. Then quickly heading down, grabbing Bear Hug down here, then heading over to grab Gory Fur, then afterwards grabbing Reinforced Fur, Adaptive Fur, then finishing off with Mauler and Roar of the Crowd, and then also Bestial Fortitude. I forgot about that. So then we're going to drop our 35th point into Ursoc's Bond, and then we're good to go. We have access to the new traits coming in 7.2, but if you might not have noticed, we have an additional rank on each of these traits with 3 traits already in them. We can drop more points into these. So some people might be asking, like, okay, well, I can drop some of these into, you know, Jagged Claws or Vicious Bites or whatever, but do I go ahead and grab these first or these new traits first? So let's go ahead and go over the new traits first so that we know exactly what's going on and where we could spend our new points. So Fortitude of the Cenarian Circle increases damage by 10%, armor by 12%, and stamina by 10%. So a lot of people might not know that if you look at this tooltip over here, stamina increased for every trait purchased, also damage dealt increased for every trait purchased, and this trait down here, Ursoc's Bond, also increased our armor by 0.5% for every trait that we bought into this one. So at 54 traits, we had a lot more HP, a lot more damage, and a lot more armor. If we're going to be reduced from 54 back to 35 with the release of 7.2, then, you know, where is all that extra power going? You know, are we going to get weaker? No, Blizzard basically put all of that power into Fortitude of Cenarian Circle, this new trait here, so that the first thing you grab, you are of equal power as you were in 7.15 if you were at 54, or you might even be more powerful depending on how many stats they allocated to you in this trait. So first things first, we're going to grab this trait here so that we stay roughly the same, if not a little bit better, on patch day. Now the new traits here, Scintillating Moonlight. I don't know if I said that right, but Scintillating Moonlight. Moonfire reduces the damage dealt to you by 1%. This has 4 traits, so we can get 4% reduced damage all the time, basically, because we want to have Moonfire on the target as much as we can. So that's pretty great. Now, Flesh Knitting, Frenzied Regeneration gains 1 additional charge. Now, you guys know how powerful Druid self-healing is after some big hits. Having an extra charge on that, especially with Skysex Hold, the legendary, is going to be extremely nice for survivability overall. And then we have another trait here, Positive Outlook. Thrash has a 15% chance to trigger an additional Thrash. So if this works like the Guardian Druid trait, this should be where you cast Thrash, and then you have a 15% chance to get an extra Thrash for free, and then each proc of those thrashes has a chance to proc off each other. So you thrash the first time, you get a proc for an extra one, then another proc off of that second one that you got, then you can keep procking and procking off of that, up to theoretically, you know, infinite, as long as you keep getting lucky. So this is pretty good overall for damage. This is pretty good overall for threat, especially Guardian Druids, as we know, have a lot of threat issues, but that could be fixed with 7.15. However, where are we going to spend our artifact points? If we are at 54 traits when 7.2 drops, if we're already at 54, that means that we're going to have 4 ranks that we can buy immediately, which this was the first one, Fortitude of the Cenarian Circle. Now we have 3 left that we can spend. Where do we want to spend them? Now, we have value in these old traits. As you can see, you know, Thrash is generally the best for DPS, and then we've got some other ones like Ursoc's Endurance being really, really good for overall survivability and rage management. So where do we put our stuff? I personally would think to go ahead and grab Flesh Knitting and Positive Outlook first, because after reading the patch notes for 7.2, it doesn't look like Druids are getting nerfed really at all. So if they're going to stay with the same exact power level that they are at right now, which is obviously, you know, the top, they are, you know, one of the best tanks, if not the best tank. I would see no reason why not to go ahead and grab some extra damage off of Positive Outlook, and then on the way over there we can go ahead and grab some more survivability utility from Flesh Knitting and Scintillating Moonlight. So I would go ahead and grab our traits off here, grabbing these brand new ones, and then we have to drop ours into the old traits here. So like I said, we have basically no nerfs incoming for 7.2 for bears. So really we can go ahead and gear more, not gear, but go ahead and orientate ourselves more towards damage. So we can go ahead and grab Jagged Claws first. Then, you know, we got our Jagged Claws. We have an extra 10% damage on Thrash. We have our Positive Outlook. I think everything's looking fine right now. We can go ahead and a little bit more survivability or more offense if you would like. But I would go ahead and grab Ursoc's Endurance, as this seems to be the best survivability legendary, Rage Management, as I had mentioned. Then afterwards, you can go ahead and grab Vicious Bites or Reinforced Fur, depending on if you want DPS or survivability. I would go ahead and grab Reinforced Fur, honestly. Then go ahead and grab Vicious Bites or Wild Flesh. All of those are good. Then after you grab those, basically you can put wherever you want these new points. You can grab more Bark Skin, you can grab Sharpened Instincts, Bestial Fortitude, Mauler. I would probably leave Mauler for last, seeing as it's the most lackluster of all of the traits that we have currently. So after we get every single trait available, we have access to the new Golden Dragon, the Infinite trait, as people might refer to it as, called Concordance of the Legion Fall. Now every single spec gets this in the game, because it's the same for everybody. So your abilities have a chance to trigger Concordance of the Legion Fall, increasing your primary stat by 2,000 for 10 seconds. Now this goes up with every trait that you spend, but primary stat, that being agility, intellect, or strength. So for bears, that is agility for us, and as you could see, with every point we're going to get around 200 more primary stat, but with every point that we put in, you're going to see the artifact power gains just go insanely high. We're in the, what, 5 trillion mark at this point? Not even 5 billion, 5 trillion maybe. Probably not trillion, I can't read correctly. But yeah, basically that's a lot of artifact power that we're going to have to spend. Theoretically, we might not actually even be able to complete our artifact weapons within this expansion. It might not even be possible just because of how much artifact power that costs in order to finish everything off. But basically, yeah, that's exactly how I would go about getting the Guardian Druid artifact all specced out. I think we should go ahead and grab all the new traits for 7.2 because that's just more damage and more survivability. Then going ahead and grabbing the better traits from the old tree, and then finishing it off and grabbing these Concordance of the Legion Fall. Now, as far as relics go, generally the best traits really are either Jagged Claws or Ursoc's Endurance. Like I said before, Ursoc's Endurance, survivability, more rage management, everything is good in that aspect. Or if you want more damage, more threat, really, you can go ahead for Jagged Claws. So either of these relics that would increase this trait would work, but we also have the chance to get relics that would affect Scintillating Moonlight, which honestly I don't believe is that great. I mean, a whole relic for only 1% more damage reduction doesn't sound too great to me, so I would go ahead and just stick with some of these old traits here, however you want to go about it. So yeah, basically Jagged Claws and Ursoc's Endurance as far as relics go, and you guys can rewind the video for how you go ahead and spec into your artifact. So yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Please leave some feedback. Leave a comment down below, leave a like or a dislike of what you guys thought. Go ahead and subscribe for further content, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Keggernaut. I stream about 4 days a week. So yeah, so thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video, or I'll see you guys live on stream.